Okay, so I'm going to switch gears on you. We've been talking about communities since we have started this class. And Nike, if you haven't seen it, is spectacular. And what they've done is they've taken every one of their products and niches, and they have separate communities for this kind of sneaker for basketball, this kind of shoe for golf. This, I mean, it just goes on and on. It's really spectacular. And Shel Israel, who was one of the first people he wrote a great book on blogging, says it's the new neighborhood. It's a place that we like to hang out. So which of these would you define as a community? Someone want to venture a guess? I'm not going to go unless you venture a guess.
Amazon.
Amazon is definitely a community. Anything else?
YouTube.
YouTube is a community too. eBay is also. And what they're doing here is rating somebody's as a seller. And that, just the fact that these unknown people to one another get together and rate a seller makes it a kind of community. You're using that feedback to make a decision. The reality is that everything up here is a community. And some of them are not very obvious. This is Purina. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have a spectacular podcast that they do on everything related to animals. So that's a community. YouTube. IdeaStorm is a place where Dell generates a lot of ideas. I think I have another slide on that. It's just incredibly good. And Amazon, customers who recommend this, or who bought this, recommend this. So these are all things that shape community. But tonight, I want to talk about branded communities or brand communities. And what's the difference? Does someone want to hazard a guess as to what the difference is between a social network and a branded community? Come on, guys. Kirk.
A brand gives you the potential to market it. It becomes something that can be marketed or communicated very briefly what it is.
Exactly. So take a look. One of the best communities, one of the best companies to use communities is the Harley company, Harley Davidson. Sorry. And Harley Davidson has fanatics about using their motorcycles. And so they have this little branded community that they use. They also have Facebook, but Facebook doesn't give them the intimacy that Kirk pointed out. And the difference is a little bit like speed dating versus marriage. And the speed dating would be Facebook, and a marriage or a longer-term relationship would be a branded community. When it is successful, I want to tell you, branded communities are one of the most difficult things to do. They're very easy to put up, and they are very hard to get followers, particularly when you don't know that you have to work at getting those followers. And we're going to talk about that in more detail. So there's a greater commitment in a branded community once you get it up and going, both on the part of the company and on the part of the user. Because you do that, you're going to get a higher level of engagement, and you're going to work real hard for it. And you're going to get greater loyalty out of it. If you create a neighborhood where people with your particular interests, say special needs children, like to play, that can become incredibly powerful. And you can use that to test out new product ideas, to poll your market, and whatnot. And it's just a very powerful thing. And I've seen very few of them at companies I've looked at that are very good. But a branded community can serve to generate ideas like the Dell community, amplify word of mouth, go after long-tail sales, which we'll discuss before the class is over. Long-tail sales are very niche sales like the surfer girl dresses. And networking, employer, it has lots of advantages to it, and like I said, it also takes a lot of time to do well. So there are all sorts of advantages to the organization. Now what you take a look at here for Harley Davidson is that they have a couple of sub-communities, which are obviously what they decided were their top hits, right? They have one for women, they have one for Harley fanatics, the Harlistas, women riders, and this is some kind of iron elite group, I don't know what that is. And then veterans, military. And these are the groups, they segmented the market. They did not try to reach every human being that might want to know something about a Harley. And they set up separate little markets, separate little communities for each one. And they're doing gangbusters. So it becomes a new service channel. You can generate sales, you collaborate with customers around ideas. Maybe for the customers that are your loyal members, you give them a quick look at the new stuff and you get their feedback. So you can really do some very nice things. And Adobe, what I showed you, they've done a very good job of building their various communities. So the way you get members is that you incentivize them and you think about it, right? You think about what is it going to take to get someone involved in thinking about my company. I was looking up for Dell. He no longer does it, but there was a guy who's an engineer, and at night he used to like to answer Dell problems related to the Dell machine. He answered something like, 250,000 responses. They called him the Terminator. And, Dell must have been beside themselves with joy. They weren't paying the guy. He's answering the questions. He thinks Dell is a terrific company. So, you need to do something. And that something might be giving them support or recognition or first looks at something you're thinking about or doing, asking for their help.